Socko. Obviously, it's just you and me here tonight for the death of Tandy's late male, R.I.P. Valet. But we are missing a certain someone. You care to maybe give us some insight as to why he's gone? Did he have a bad week, or did he beat someone that had an absolute Barry Crocker?
Mate, look, he's obviously read the tea leaves because he still managed to pull out an 1100 this week. But that wasn't good enough for DJ7 this week, no. DJ7 has gone, I haven't done 1200. I can't show my face on stream, which is, to be honest, where we should be at, because some of us haven't even done 1100 this week. So I am not qualified to give you advice. This is all just dribble. But welcome to the stream, gang.
Welcome, guys. We actually haven't seen Dylan since he left the beach road, which was definitely the last place we saw him on a couple of weeks ago. Definitely, he's now fleeted. Fleeted? Yeah, we'll go with it. To the Sunshine Coast. And he's licking his wounds because he has cats that also lick their paws, and he's, in his own state of hell up there. So get well soon, DJ7. I'm sure we'll see you next week. You may not see me here next week, though, because I am going to be requested to be let down 6 feet underground by my SuperCoach team just so they can let me down one more time, Socko. Mate, how do you feel generally wearing black on black on black? Is that the Tesla or is that the tester?
Mate, I'm... Let me tell you, if you've been let down, so have I. Some of us owned Dill Brown last night and watched him do 40 in the first half with 4 more coming in the second half. That's not another 4-point try, by the way. That's another 4 points. So, mate, I'm right there with you, and maybe they can bury us side by side, because I can't see us going much further this season.
It's been a wild run. It's been a wild month. We've had a lot of good times. But I think it's now time to do what's right and just delete the app. Is there any coming back from a sub 1100 score on a week where I've seen 1500s just humble, it's been humbled by the Gibbers WhatsApp chat. But whilst our 50k odds are lessening by the day, we're out to 501 to 1, kind of just like Donald Duck is to win the US presidency in 2028. We are now head-to-head players, Sock.
We are head-to-head players.
We're now head-to-head, and
points of difference. Will you come on down?
Right. And now we're head-to-head players. I feel that there's a bit less pressure. There's a bit of a monkey off the old back, and now I think is where we rise. So whilst tonight we do say goodbye to our hopes of Vegas in 2026, you never know. We might still get one foot on the plane via cash leagues that may or may not pay out, depending on who the SAR is. I feel confident with the Gibbers cash league. Better Call Saul sponsoring the show. Shout out to them. But the other rogue $100 50 head-to-head we're in, not so confident with Michael Pease. Not sure if he's a listener here or someone who tunes in. But not someone who gives the greatest confidence that he will be paying out come October. Nonetheless, we're in it for pride, and tell you what, we need a bit of that right now, Socko. Where did it all go wrong for you this week?
I suppose weird, isn't it? Look, I think there was a number of people that probably had the same issues I did, in the sense that they've watched Nico Hines go for 38 on a day where Cronulla, scored 20 plus points. Felt like he couldn't goal kick to save himself. Nothing was going right there. Then you turn your eyes maybe to Darwin. You brought in Dill Bags. You're feeling pretty good about it. You watched him ton up against your beloved Saints last week or thereabouts. And he strolls through the defensive line, mate. Strolls through the defensive line. Unfortunately, he's then decided that would be his last play of the game. And that was in about the 20th minute. So, look, a lot of plotting done by some people that I brought in this week. Siwa Wong, I know a lot of you in the Gibbers chat were talking him up. I, too, fell for that trap. 42 points. That's
Do you reckon? Do you reckon Dillbags had one eye on the Townsville, sorry, the Darwin circuit, Sock?
Hey, I think he went right. I've scored one try. The rest is on you, boys. I'm heading to the pub, and I can't fucking blame him in that humidity. I would have been hanging for a schooner. Wait, do they sell schooners up there? What do they sell?
On a certain day at a certain hour. I'm sure it was, he probably did get a schooner, let's be real, and he's Dylan Brown. But, once he sat down at that pub in Darwin, probably had a couple of sips and then thought, fuck me, why are those kids throwing rocks at the windows? I want to get out of here.
Mate, look, I don't think he wanted to leave the plane, to be honest, and he played that way. And look, that can be said for a number of players in my team. So I've had a bit of a horror show. Fortunately, no injury affected players this week, but I'm sure a lot of you have. James Fisher-Harris going for about 13 of the best today before doing a Jasper Dweck. And for those of you not in the know, that's a peck.
Gregory Peck.
I've watched Jarrell Skelton limp off in his return game from a string with another string. And then you got, Tui Piloto as well, right? Who was very respectful and did 95 before he wanted to do his string. So show us the money, CT. Show us the money.
Me the money. How good was that, dude? Like, obviously you'd been, Flano whipped him into shape, or, Flano doesn't like fun, all that. But, mate, he goes over, it's 30 zip at that point, I think, and he just couldn't help himself, could he? He's just like, fuck this, give me the cash. I've just signed a 1-year extension, probably for like $250K, not a lot, what I wouldn't give, by the way. But he's just gone off. The blokes in the gong, in that stand, are absolutely loving it. How good was that to see as a Saints fan and an owner?
Oh, mate, look, it's like his first try celebration felt awkward. It felt, dare I say it, unauthentic or inauthentic. Like, it just wasn't the right celebration for him. He's trying to jump up and, look, we get it, CT. You got to behave yourself. But, yeah, as you said, he's gone over, 30 points on the board at that point for his second. And, the people in the gong are rolling. And that's rolling in money because he's made it rain, baby. Made it rain. Both SuperCoach and on the field.
Absolutely. And in speaking of making it rain, the chat is absolutely flying out the gate. A lot of people tuning in here to pay their respects, I guess, Socko, more than anything, to the death of our hopes of 50K. But as we said, we are now head-to-head players, and that season starts now. Well, starts on Monday when I try to work out how to trade 26 blokes. But thrown over to the chat, Paddy Pimblett. Great win today, Paddy. Well done. Is this somehow switched to a Seal tribute show? Well, I can't hear you, Sock. You've gone mute there, mate. I'm not a big Seal guy. Yourself, Socko? He was one of your favourites back in the day, wasn't he, on Australian Idol?
Oh, mate, kiss from a rose, kiss from a seal. Either way, I'll take it. I need a bit of loving at this point. Paddy, are you available and free?
Oh, well, yeah. Hopefully.
Well, I just want to feel something after being let down again by my team.
Look, I'm sure he, Paddy, Payne Haas in the DP there, will be happy to entertain you. But one who will not be entertained is Sharon in 6. This next one comes here from Carter Moon. How are you, Mooney? Sunday night Mooney. 1:55 p.m. Had Paps captain. 1:58, I'm guessing PM. Did a last-minute switch to Ponga. Oh, brother.
Oh.
Carter, my boy. Mate, well, listen, what'll make you feel better is if you go down to Kmart, ask the girl who's working there, where's the hat section? She says, I don't know. So you figure it out yourself. And you go get your...
I poured one out for him, mate. Don't worry about it.
Just dress in all black, baby. Put some sunnies on. Go for a walk. Your dog will have a 6-pack by Monday morning, and you'll feel better about it. Fucking hell, what happened with... Well, we'll get into the games in a sec, but while it's fresh, Socko, what did you make of the Knights generally, and specifically Kalen Ponga, who's gone on one of the great bed shits of all time the last 3 weeks, it feels like?
Well, mate, look, I I know you and I are ardent Adam O'Brien supporters. And when I say we support Adam O'Brien, we support him heading for the Centrelink queue line Monday morning.
In Darwin?
I feel for you Knights fans. I feel for you Knights fans that have to put up with that. Mate, yeah, the Knights, look, they just play this negative brand of football, right? And I think it comes back to bite them more than it helps them. You know, the lack of contesting kicks. It feels like as well, like, look, there's no one ever, like, really calling out for the pill. You know, like, it doesn't feel like they've got a really dominant playmaker, I suppose. Like, and this was always the question over that Fletcher Sharp experiment, right? And it's what's happened when we've seen Kalen before in the, you know, in the halves at Newey. He can float in and out of games, and I think that attitude flows across at least the players in the key positions. And then you throw it to Phoenix Crossland and hope. So,
yeah, just as Carter Moon threw his captaincy to Ponga and hoped.
Yeah,
Mooney, brother, listen, a week's a long time in SuperCoach, mate. Look, we have been saying that for 6 weeks now, and it hasn't really turned around for us, at least. But for you, brother, put it this way, mate, like, you were half right. You know what I mean? You could probably even argue he was more than half right, Soccer. It was 1:55 p.m. He's had a rush of blood. We all get rushes of blood on a Sunday arvo, don't we? Some of us get, rushes of blood on a Sunday morning, but unlucky Carter. You'll get him next week, mate. I reckon even double down. Fuck it, no one else will do it. A couple other ones here coming in from Righty. How are you, Righty? 2K. Righty was our original dub in the chat in terms of first week. We'll crack 1,200 at least. Must be nice. With a mediocre high and C. Fuck, mediocre is one way to put it, mate. And my 3-gun halfback strategy not firing this week. Should I stay patient? So I'm guessing that means he's got Cleary, the artist formerly known as Nico Hines, and Jerome Hughes, who I believe did his Gregory Peck or his Jasper Dweck today, or his shoulder. What happened there, Socko?
Yeah, mate. Like, just tackle on the line in the first half, right? And he was sort of holding it. It looked pretty bad. I mean, from what I've heard, he would have been, they didn't want to risk him in a game where they've already got 36 on the board at halftime. You can probably understand that, right? Let me tell you, I too left that game with them up 36 because I was a non-Pappenhausen owner. So, look, I get it. Jerome, hit the showers, bud. Look, they're going to set him for scams. Not sure how bad it is. I don't know if I'd stay patient on that. But then again, look, everyone is probably running around with the same two halves in terms of Cleary and Hines. So you'd just be wearing the same scores everyone else is, respectfully.
Yeah, it's like, what do you even do outside of those blokes, right? Let's have a quick look here at halfbacks.
The return of Mitch Moses, the pod.
Yeah, or back to Metcalf, maybe. 67 today. Don't sleep on it. Oh, mate, there's really no one else.
Can I interest you in Braden Trindle with Jules?
Well, you're talking yourself back into Trindle after trading him out 2 weeks ago. Mate, fuck, there's really no one there. There's literally no one in halfback. I mean, Hugo Savala, solid 20 on debut. That'll move the needle a little bit for some.
I think Lachlan Ilias might have jagged one TA in a 38-point haul. So, you could look to Lachlan Ilias, Righty.
Righty, we're talking about Ilias and Hugo Savala. You definitely should stay patient, mate. It's slim pickings. Slim pickings elsewhere. Cherry Evans, future Rooster. He looks probably the best, but fuck, it's Phil sideways from Cleary. Yeah, so what do you, I guess bigger picture with Nico. I actually think he'll probably get updated to a try assist. I feel that was actually him that created that. You remember that one they scored down the left? I think it was through Hiroti. Yeah. I think he might actually get that. So time will tell. That'll make it respectable, probably like a 60. But yeah, aside from that, I don't know, man. Trindle fucking gets too much pill, doesn't he? And he's like, the thing about Trindle is he's not that good either. Like, he does like a couple of good things.
Trendle looks like a bloke that you've had a beer with at the pub and he's walked onto the first grade pitch somehow, like about 3 hours later. And you're like, how is this fella? Like, just his facial hair, everything about him screams like, wasn't I having a good yarn with that bloke at the pub last night? And like, I thought he was some park football, and now he's playing here. Like,
yeah, what fucking Group 7 tricky? What's he doing up at Townsville or Perth? When did the Thelmere Roosters start playing at Optus Stadium? He just gets in his way. Nico's like, by all accounts, a really sweet, nice guy, and doesn't like kind of bully him out of it. Yeah. I don't know, but they all seem to kind of alternate. Fuck, I was so off Nico in the preseason because of that. Then I fell victim to hashtag chasing points last week or 2 weeks ago when he got a ton against the Souths, and I think he's averaged like 48 ever since. So a great trade in by me there, Socko, and someone I believe you brought in.
I followed you. I followed you the week after.
60, 48, 38. Chances are he's probably going to 28.
Sunnies, mate, I don't know if you can tell with the Sunnies, but it's the blind leading the blind here.
People may be wondering, why do we have our Sunnies on? Well, it's because over there in the distance, I see my future, and it's bright. Our top scorer of the week this week, Socko. Drumroll, please, mate. This was a man that pumped out. It was over 1,400. I don't know the specific number. It was a lot. It was plenty, Socko. The kind of score that we could only dream of, and maybe we will dream of. Maybe not. Maybe we're just numb to this game now, and the dreams will stop and the nightmares will continue. But James Peary, congratulations, mate. Well done, my friend. He will be receiving. No one's actually taken us up on the Jimmy Brings offer yet. They'd rather $50 to spend on a stick, it seems. So, Peary, enjoy the stick, mate. He does have a few words for us here, Socko, if you want to hear him.
Yeah, lay him on us. I need all the help I can get at this point. I think you do too.
Well, definitely. On and off the SuperCoach field. But this message doesn't really give much help. It's just a victory lap, so it should be. He says, big shout out to the boys. Full credit to the boy. And my WhatsApp just closed on itself. And why does that happen? Because the Chinese government is always listening. He says, big shout out to the boys. Full credit to the boy for the huge contribution. And Teddy being the GOAT. In brackets, you'd like that, Reese. Yes, I do, Peary. That is fucking the absolute God-honest truth. James Tedesco is the GOAT. And then he says, P.S. Dom Michalak, you suck at SuperCoach. I'm guessing that's a shot across the bow to his good mate there.
Is that the old facial on the ground? The bloke's already been tackled and he's just gone for a bit of a facial there.
Yeah, Peary just got 10 for rubbish on the face there. He's giving him a bit of a serve and a spray. I don't know about the bit afterwards.
Cop that big time.
He's copped that big time. Really good there from Peary. Well done, mate.
Yeah, congratulations, brother. That's an awesome score, especially in an injury-affected round too, right? Like it felt still kind of like a glitchy round. Some safe picks, did low numbers. Like that's a huge score.
Fuck, injury, mate. I wish it was an injury-affected round. That would, make me feel.
That'd make you feel something.
Yeah. Well, again, yeah. How nice would that be? Cam Wynn chimes in from the top rope. He has a couple of comments for us. First of all, Dom Michalak of top 1% fame. Well, it seems as though Dom Michalak is a bikie, given he's a 1%er. That might be a neck tattoo in waiting there for Dom, just like my Voldy tattoo on my right quad, Socko, to join the I'm Him club. How come every time we go to Beach Road Hotel, I end up with the tattoo? That's something to think about. See you there Friday night, I guess.
What are you doing Thursday?
So yeah, Dom's actually he's flying high, so I'm sure that Peary's words there will not rattle him whatsoever. And then Bailey Hughes chimes in. He says, Reese, I'd like to apologise for selling you a Drinky Island C over Teddy. Bales, mate. Socko and I were actually musing in the green room, as we often do. And one of the topics of discussion was Drinky, also known as Phil Water, Socko. Why? Because he makes us feel something. And tell you what, it was one of the great 72s you'll see this year. He couldn't have done anything more to edge owners, all 300 of us. Fuck.
Call Scott Drinkwater, expert in ball busting and cock and ball torture, because he was edging you all night.
Mate, there was like half breaks, there was hip drops with lines wide open, penalty try has gone begging. Mate, he missed a conversion at one point. Fuck, from dead set adjacent to the left post, kind of one that Jugas would have thrown over a weekend or 2 weekends ago. After a gummy as well, by the way. Jugas hitting them really well under the influence. Yeah, so to still pump out a 72. You know what, Sock? If Scott Drinkwater walked into this room right now, you know what I'd say to him? I'd say, Drinky, I captained you once, and I'd captain you again.
Man, I don't think he could have done more to get a ton. I like, honestly, he was so close to a ton. It's not funny.
It just kind of summed up the weekend for Tanny's late mail here. It was just like, yeah, you might be on the cards here, but really it's not going to be happening. And then Cam Wynn chimes in again. He says, Pappenhausen, Steve, Purdue, Haas, Campbell. I believe because they believe. Believe in the shield. Fucking hell, Soccer. How many of those 4 did you have, mate? Can't hear.
I only had Haas. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I only had Haas, mate. What about you? How many of those did you
have? Mate, just about the same as you, JC included. But speaking of Pappenhausen C, there is one man in the chat. Well, it's the bloke on screen, Cam Wynn. As opposed to Carter Moon, Camo has played eyes up footy this afternoon and turned Ryan Pappenhausen into Ryan Captainhausen. And Socko, if you don't mind, Cam Wynn would like to join the pod to give us, well, who knows what he's going to give us. And it might be a spray, it might be life advice, but it also just give me a victory lap about him captaining Pappenhausen. Would you like me to call him?
Absolutely. Get him on the air.
Here we go, guys.
We need some energy in here because Lord knows yours and my SuperCoach team provided nothing this weekend.
How sweet the sound.
Well, it's a big, big sound from the east of the town.
It's a sound of the Oak Hill Pappenhausen.
Not bad for an Oak Hill boy, eh?
Mate, sublime. So they were shit at school back in the day. I think we'd always put about 70 points on them.
Yeah.
Me and Connor in the halves, just tearing it up. That's kind of Watson for you listeners. Yeah, we're the halves pairing for Knox First 15.
Yeah. Yeah, you mate, you guys are always in sync, weren't you?
Not the team that Bailey Simonson played
60 kilos back at school.
Hang on a second. What did you say, Sot?
Oh, I was asking, was that the same team that Bailey Simonson was in as well?
Do you hear that, mate?
I think the Bailey Simonson Knox thing has kind of been blown out of proportion.
Oh.
I think he left in year 7 or 8.
Right. Just kind of like James Moran.
Well, kind of like Chad Townsend and the Roosters.
Camo, do us a favour, mate, and just describe. You were watching that game, the Savo, I'm assuming?
If I'm being honest, I was at Taronga Zoo.
having a bloody day out, mate.
Yeah, I was actually in the middle of some nocturnal animals presentation at the time, and then it was kind of boring as shit. So I whipped out the SuperCoach app, and I've seen Pappenhausen was on 95 at half time. I've almost let out ooh in the middle of a quiet auditorium. So yeah, that was gave me a real spring in my step. That's for sure.
No doubt. I'm surprised you didn't go to the old toilet and have a moment with yourself.
Almost.
Yeah,
No,
fucking,
just,
fucking fantastic.
credit
As
to
well.
him.
Yeah, and if Ryan's tuning in, mate, any words you want to say to him?
Oh, mate, just sorry for spear tackling you back in that pre-season game. You've turned out to be a pretty good bloke. Yeah, that's all I got to say for him. But
nice, mate.
Yeah, full credit to him. If I'm being honest, just sort of sorry, I can see you guys laughing on the screen. It's putting me off. Look, don't have much of a clue about what I'm doing, but I just sort of felt that Pappenhausen aura in the SuperCoach app this week, and looked at his sort of past figures and thought, you know what, he's due a big score. Obviously, the Warriors and Storm games always become a bit of a blowout. I'm pretty sure that's the 16th win in a row for the Storm over the Warriors. So, yeah, something was just in the air. Just felt like a no-brainer. So,
are you now going to get your hair balayaged like Pappenhausen and maybe relive the glory days of Fat Cam era?
That was an interesting cut, that one. You know, I might bring it back. I might also bring back taking Lucky to the dog park and having a stiggy on the tree stump while placing some sports bet multis on a random Monday afternoon.
Socko's laughing like he hasn't already done that today. Multis on what, mate? The fucking race 6 at Kembla, or
who knows? Whatever was on that day, I reckon.
Dapto race 7 always, mate. It's always dog number 1 in race 7.
Yeah, stick to the barrier, mate. Cam, what a result, mate. And what did you finish on for the week, brother?
I finished on 1,358, which could be my top ever SuperCoach score. So I'm pretty happy with that. So coming into this week, I was top 12%.
Yeah.
Must be nice for you. That really loud.
Let me tell you, Camo, you look great. You look great from behind, Camo. You look great from behind because we're following you a little bit way back.
I reckon if you guys just stick to those Excel spreadsheets a little bit more and don't overthink your decisions about 15 times a week, you might start climbing up the rankings.
Well said, mate.
Hoping to crack that sort of top 10 come Monday morning, and then just keep it going into next week, you know. Full credit to the boys, full credit to Campbell and Haas and May as well for really putting in a shift, and of course the young whippersnapper Purdue with a 1-1-1, which is just unbelievable.
Were you whipping him home? I
was. Yeah, I had a bit of an excitement quiver sitting here on the lounge last night watching his double and about 17 line breaks and whatever else he did.
Yeah, we come on, Jackson.
Yeah, it's incredible stuff.
Cam, before we let you go, mate, any just general life advice you want to give me and Socko and listeners generally, mate?
Socko, I think Ray-Ban are doing a bit of a special on Sunnies at the moment because those ones are fucking tilted as fuck.
Yeah, it's windy in Socko's apartment, I think.
If you want to be the next bloody Peter Overton, you got to get fucking parallel Sunnies.
Nice, man. Anything else for the viewers? You want to just give them some inspiration about life or anything?
It's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward.
Well,
there we go. Cam win.
And the stream there. And in the stream there, we don't need to say anything else.
That is wise words from a wise man. How must he be feeling, mate? You're at the zoo. You're a bit mind numbing with what's going on around you, and then Snackenhausen's doing a ton in your pocket. How good would that be?
Instead, I'm over here trying to work out how quickly Dylan Egan plays the ball, on debut. Just trying to look at all the stats and all the numbers and take it in so I can figure out my next trade and overthink it 8 times and then trade him out before kickoff on Thursday night.
Oh well, Siwa Wong looked good, didn't he? Mate, let's move into a couple of the games here, Socko. We might as well just start with that Dragons one. I'll read out a couple of the scores here for you, and And you let me know who you reckon made you feel something. So, first of all, Dylan Egan. We mused during the game to each other that, well, in the preseason, that he's going to be the Charity Shield MVP in 2026 again. But Flano's given him a gig, and he looks like he's going to play Origin this year. I mean, what a fucking... Mate, he's in everything. He tackles his absolute backside off, 45 tackles in the weekend. Only missed the 2, few tackle breaks, has an offload in him, and then 13 runs, gets a try, gets a nice little reward. Neither of us traded him in this week, obviously, but I think we'll both be doing it tomorrow morning, paying 100k more than what we needed to, and he looks as playable as anybody, doesn't he?
Mate, like he really nailed down that starting spot. You couldn't have asked for more from him. I don't think. Like, look, he kind of reminds me of those kind of just defensive animals of the early SuperCoach era. For those of you who are long-time players, you might remember Sean Fensom, PG-13 even, right? He's in absolutely everything. He's topped the tackle count, 47 tackles for the game. Like, he's versatile. He's played on the edge. He's got lateral movement. Like, I tell you what, they recruited Gutho for his effort. Well, like, look, Dylan Egan's the next player up. Like that, I don't see how they send him back from playing 80 a game. Like, he just cleans up absolutely everything, in everything, tries his heart out. Like, just like some furious red nut. And we love a furious red nut here at at Tandy's Late Mail, Socko Snickers, we love a furious red nut. Welcome to the fold, Eagle. I've seen a couple of videos of the boys getting amongst him over the weekend. He goes by the nickname Eagle. So welcome.
Mate, flick him over to me if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I'll let you stroke yourself to those ones later on.
Yeah, we both fawned over his we both fawned over his song, his team song on debut. How good was that? So I've been up from there. Yeah, mate, Dill Egan, look, I mean, obviously one game there, but the base power is pretty much 1 point a minute, or it was in the first couple of weeks. Shifting between the edge and the middle. Obviously, we saw his upside on the edge with that nice little line he ran to get past Bo Fermo, I think it was, out in the centres. Yep. But, yeah, he'll be coming straight in. I think I'll sacrifice Nafahu White. Thank you for the services, Nafahu. It's been real, but you have peaked, brother. And you'll be coming Dylan Egan, and Dylan Egan's just very playable. Love him. Val Holmes, 97. He's coming in for you. He was always going to be a target for all of us, but that left side, they've got so many options, whether it's Luch, whether it's Gutho, whether it's Val. Does Tui Pilotu being out for a couple of weeks maybe turn you off Holmes a little bit, or do you see him then just shoveling it onto the truth? Sione for now.
Man, I think his value goes up with Tui Pilotu outside him, right? Like, if you look at the play that's sort of been happening on that left-hand edge, which is obviously where Saints feel most comfortable, is that left-hand edge. That's really been the dominant side for them. I actually think it makes him more playable, right? Like, because they've been throwing a lot of cutouts to CT and using him out the back of shape, whereas I think now we'll probably see Holmes, used a bit more to strip him for numbers. I think, for me, what was interesting about Val Holmes was he used to have these games with the Cowboys, and I know you'll recall them, Reece. It's just games where everything he touched was good. Like, he was in everything. Like, he was just getting early pill and he's cutting them to bits on the edge. Like, there was that run where he's thrown it back to Gutho on the inside, where I think, again, he stepped firm more. Like, it was just unreal. He was at like 120%. It's absolutely flying, steps back inside Fermor, goes straight through, puts Gutho away. Like, that's what you want to see. Like, that's what you want to see out of Val Holmes. He's bottomed out now. Like, you'll probably pay 20k more than you paid for him last week. I'm sure, Reece, you've got the actual numbers about what his price rise might be. But, look, I would have him in my team. He's coming in Monday morning too. Like, two Dragons players in first thing Monday morning.
Yeah, that kind of throwing back to a question here, Socko from Bales. Is it time to part ways with cheapy centre wings and jump to a gun? So just focus on that gun CT dub section for a second. I think the big three that we'll all be looking at next week are Valentine Holmes, Jacob Kiraz, and Herbie Farnsworth. Who of those? I mean, Val takes the cake. The other two probably won't play Origin. Herbie certainly won't. Does that sway your
Herbie,
decision?
Look, yeah, so I've had a look at the numbers. Herbie still probably has one more week to bottom out, right? Like, so I think you can probably wait on Herbie. You're catching the elevator back up with Val. Like, he won't be cheaper than he is now, right? And look, if you said at the start of the year when you planned your SuperCoach team that you had, say, Ruben Garrick, Val Holmes, Kiraz, and Herbie as your CT dubs at the end of the year, you'd be stoked with that. Like, that's a great result. Now's the time to get Val. He won't be cheaper. He looks to have finally picked up his kicking boots from the airport. He was slotting them. I don't know if you saw that conversion where he kicked it purposely out. The wind brought it back in.
Mate,
like
bit of draw.
It was vintage Val Holmes is how I would describe that. Like he's on song. I'd get him in next week. Like he's going to be playable every week.
Mate, it looked like bloody Bryson DeChambeau on the 15th hole at the Masters, the way that ball just drew in from left to right. Fucking outstanding there. Yeah, they play Manly next week, or the Saints, that is. Then the Chooks on Anzac Day, a game that we will both be at for, maybe the 20th year in a row? We must be up around that. I mean, probably not, actually. Maybe like 15th, 17th.
15th. I'd say 15th to the 17th, yeah.
So you'll be on Val for that. I don't blame you. Then you got Wes, and then you got the Waz, and then you got the Bronx, which I believe is Magic Round. Actually, sorry, Wes is. And then he goes into Origin. So pretty decent draw as well. Saints have only won 2 games this year, right? But they've just shown at least a couple of times they can put a hurting on teams. And when teams Val's playing for put a hurting on, he's usually amongst the points, isn't he? He's getting he's a bit older now, but that try that he scored where he jigged inside off Fermor, kind of moving before the ball received, that was unreal, dude. Like how light he is on his feet. Fuck, he's still an absolute top tier rugby league player, isn't he?
Well, you can see why Flano flew to North Queensland to get him, right? Like he looked every bit as sharp as he's ever been. And I think this is the first game you've seen it for him in Saints colours, and it's perfect timing, Bailey, because those cheapy CT dubs will need to go. Your Shibasakis, your Arthurs, if you've held them, you know it definitely is time to part with them, especially if you're playing overall. You know you got to keep those points rolling in. You should have cash gen by now. So yeah, look, mate. Bailey, like Val Holmes for me as a buy, will be Monday morning. And I think you can wait, as we sort of touched on, Reece, probably wait on the Kiraz or Herbie trade. You've probably got another week before that might come back to bite you in the ass. So, look,
speak for yourself, mate. I need a miracle, so I'm getting on Kiraz straight up. I know he's, still got one game before his price changes, but yeah, need a circuit breaker, another circuit breaker again. Tui Peloti, the money man. Here comes the 95 with a double. That was fantastic. I'm him with an 89. And one guy I wanted to give a massive shout out to is one of our favourites, one of our favourites that we didn't bring at the start of the season for 480k because we were more interested in safe for some reason, is Toby the Couchman. He has scores this year so far of 69, nice, 61, then he injury affected 46, then a 74 against Para, and then 82 on the weekend against the Gold Coast Titans. He's actually in a couple of my draft sides, and I've loved owning him. That 82 now puts him up to about 560k. Are you interested?
Mate, absolutely. Am I interested? Look, he's going close to playing 80 in the middle. Flano seems to really trust him. So look, Jules as well. How can you go past a player with Jules? We love Jules here at the stream. In fact, I believe that was your starting theory this year was, how many Jules can I fit in? Right? Can I get 50 players for the price of 25? Right? And the answer is maybe.
That's definitely hasn't worked.
But look, realistically, mate, I see him accelerating. I actually think, you're probably looking at a potential New South Wales player. He looks like he's put on size, but he's still agile. I actually think, he's an absolute gun of the future. And if you, I don't know that I'd bring him in right now, especially when you got the value sitting there with Dylan Egan, who also looks like he'll play 80. But fuck, man, what a good get if you got him early.
Absolutely, Gutho 54. You captain him. how did you feel watching that? Just generally, SuperCoach or otherwise, mate?
Yeah, look, I think if you had have told me Thursday last week, right, Saints are going to score 38 points this week and Gutho's going to have 1 try assist, I would have, probably checked you into a mental hospital, just made sure, you're feeling all right, are you okay, Dave, Reese? Just making sure you're all good.
Make sure the lights are still on.
Yeah, mate. Look, if you watch the game, and for those of you that didn't watch the game, Saints used Gutho to draw in the defense. Basically, they just changed it up this week. Obviously, feeling that maybe it was becoming too predictable with Gutho, so he just sort of sat inside or in between that center and 5/8, but in a position to receive the ball, and then they just threw the face ball every time. And whether that was, to Luch, as we touched on, putting through Val Holmes, whether that was Flano going over the top of the Harbour Bridge pass, but they kept using him in that shape. And the reason being was it was drawing in Filthy Phil Sami off his wing every time. He jammed on him every time, and every time they stripped him for numbers. So I think that's probably less desirable from a SuperCoach point of view. Great if you're a Saints fan like me. Great to see that we've got some variation and can
win
some points. But I think it's probably a little bit of a worry if you've got him in SuperCoach, just if Saints start moving away from him throwing those last passes.
Oh, fucking oath, it's a worry. But they've just demonstrated they can do it without him. So now teams, I guess...
give him more space again.
Yeah. Now he's probably going to strike back with a vengeance. The Empire strikes back. I think it's definitely obviously it's worth a hold.
You're not selling him on that.
Nah, you couldn't. But okay, let me ask you this: if he does it again next week, are you going to sell him before Anzac Day? If it's the same situation where he's how ruthless are you going to be with Gutho here, or do you just think, okay, I'll take a couple of bad weeks, but I'll back the fact he's going to be still a top averaging fullback, or do you get off when he's at his peak price? Right now, he's break even with 78 going this week, so
he's going under.
Yeah, he's going to dip below 800k, which is obviously still pretty handy. But another shit score, and he's now sub 7 going into Anzac Day with a break even of 100 and plenty. That's going to be an interesting one for you. But then again, it's the Roosters on a day game. Fuck yeah. Decision's been made. Let's just hope he goes well next week so you don't have to go through that conundrum, I guess. But awesome from Saints. Fundamentally, great tactics from Flano just to show that variance and have Gutho's gravity. Unfortunately, Gutho's gravity doesn't, you can't quantify that as a SuperCoach points. Not at all, Socko. Moving over to the Tits, the Titans. They were pretty terrible for the most part, as they tend to be on the road sometimes. In fact, now 2 weeks in a row. David Fafita looked like he had one of these games where he's like, I'm going to try now. And when he tries, it's just like men against boys kind of stuff, as I mentioned in the commentary. He had 11 tackle breaks, 4 offloads, a couple line break assists, and 16 runs from Fifi. Do you love me? Are you riding? Is that a flash in the pan type thing? Is it he's going towards Origin, so he wants to put out a statement performance? Or is it, okay, he's now fit, firing. He played 80 minutes, I think, and he's going to be low 600K with 120-point ceiling. Are you interested?
Yeah, look, I'm definitely interested, right? He was one of the must-haves last year for those that did well. I think that was one of your early pickups. That was probably your first well-timed pickup of the year. I think we're seeing him at that point again. Thank you, Des, for playing him off the bench for the first 3 games this year, giving us all, David Fafita at sub 700. Look, he'll obviously have a price rise off that, right? Look, he's going to be about 700, I'd imagine. Close to. No?
His break-even was 90, so he'll be 680 or something, mate. But yeah.
680, okay, look, you didn't get him at the exact bottom, but I don't think you'll see him cheaper than that again this year. Look, I think the Titans are capable of plenty of points. I think the interesting part about watching him in that game was, as he touched on, he was like, I'm going to try today. But it wasn't just try. It was it was very much a mental of give me the pill. He was going looking for the pill.
Yeah, agree. He was hungry for it, eh?
You can see those games where Fifi comes in and out of it and he's bludging on the blind side of the ruck down the short side, does nothing, doesn't want to know about the ball. I think if you brought him and he performed like that every week, you'd be stoked. We know he's going to have weeks where he doesn't, right? But more often than not, he's going to create. I think the Titans missed Tino, right? Like that. There's just no doubt they miss that defensive start through the middle. They miss the meters that he gives them. Like is another attacking threat close to the line. I think there's more to come out of Fifi this year. I actually think he may not play Origin. Queensland sort of showed their hand last year and moved away from him. I think he could be like a Nico Hines type player where the stateside just goes, thanks, but no thanks. You've burnt us one too many times before. So I actually see a lot of value in owning him this year.
So they've got Canberra next week on a Sunday Arvo, which I just generally like, offloading blokes.
Is that at
home? Yeah, it is actually.
You like that.
Sunday Arvo. Canberra not travelling heaps well this year. Apart from obviously when they travel.
Apart from Sunday. Apart from the
Vegas.
top end. Apart from 31-degree heat, the opposite of Canberra's climate.
And they play the boys. And then Magic Round, they play the Dogs. So, that's Fifi. I mean, dude, it's David Feder. We know what he can do. Like he's the only 2RF that can do one. Well, him, Crichton, Katoa to a lesser extent, Hudson Young as well. Guys that they do 128, you're not exactly shocked. And that try that they scored, I think it was off a kickoff from memory. Where again, like this
he beat about 17 players. Like it was unreal.
Yeah, he's just this aberration of an athlete, isn't he? But my question is just like, okay, is he going to play 80? And he's going to give a shit every week. And I don't know.
How do you quantify that? I think, right, for guys like you and me, where we need a circuit breaker right now, Fifi is a circuit breaker, right? Like Fifi is that point of difference. I think there's guys that probably be leading the pack. I mean, Hamole Olakawadu looks like he's gone down with a shoulder. Do you go thanks Hamole and hello Fifi?
Fifi, do you love me? Are you riding? JC, 83. We're both JC truthers, have been for a couple of seasons now. Socko, I love watching Campbell play. Like he loves a run, doesn't he? You just love seeing that from a halfback. Like he's always there when there's kind of broken play offloads. They didn't have their best offloader in Tino playing, but off the couple of Campbell Gillard offloads, he got going. 11 tackle breaks, 21 tackles, forced dropout, a couple of offloads. Like he just stuffs the stat sheet. That 83 was all done without any try assists or tries as well. Kicked 2 goals, missed 1. Season-long hold, best 5'8" SuperCoach. I'm sure you agree.
Look, I think if you got him early, great. If you don't have him, you'll need him. He's so fun to watch and own as a SuperCoach player. Like he's one of those players where you can actually enjoy watching him play every week.
He keeps trying, mate. Like he just keeps on the ball.
That intercept against the Chooks, length of the field. Sorry to make you relive it.
No, that's right. I was there. It felt good watching it, and it feels good reliving it. And then AJ Brimson, shout out to you, the guy I traded out 3 weeks ago, and he's pumped out since 63, 58, 73. So a really good trade out by me there. Mate, we might whiz through a few more of these. I guess there's 7 games to cover. We don't want to send this into overtime tonight. I might just pick a couple of players a couple of players I found interesting from most games and get your thoughts on it. Going to the Dolphins and Panthers game there. Really like the look of Herbie Farnsworth. Early TA, which put him on about 30 from the jump, but base power of 24 plus 16, just 40, plus 18 in runs, 58 in base power. Prior to this week, his base power was in the 60s per week. He is going to be pretty much the same price as Fifi, essentially. So, like, gun to your head, Herbie's not going to play at Origin. He plays the Storm next week, then into Canberra, then the Chooks, then Para, then the Waz. Fuck, that's a pretty good draw. Bloody hell. I think Yeah, Farnworth, we already know what he can do, but I was very impressed with him running at Isaac Tunga, who fucking can't tackle his way out of a wet paper bag at the moment, can he?
No. Look, Isaac needs a couple of weeks with the rugby side at the moment. He's struggling, but so is the rest of the Panthers team, and I think we saw that. But mate, look, I suppose Herbie for me, Herbie versus Fifi, who am I pulling in this week? Probably don't love Herbie in a game against the Storm. Like, he's going to do that base, right? I'm not sure what his break even is. He's gone under again this week. What did he do? 78 versus 91. So, I suppose I still think he probably goes under again next week. I'm not assuming that he's going to go gangbusters. I think you could probably get one more price drop out of him, or at worst, you're probably getting him at the same price that he will be after this week. So I'd probably pull the trigger on Fifi first, because if Fifi's going to play like that every week, like, look, put it this way, you can't sit there and not have Fifi do 130 if you're playing for overall next week, right? Like, or if the person you're playing in your head-to-heads, you can't not have Fifi in there. Whereas Herbie, look, against the Storm, even if he jags a try assist, look, he's probably going to do 90. You could probably wear that, and you can make that up elsewhere.
Yeah, one thing I will say, though, about that matchup is it's not as bad as it's made out to be. Obviously, they get pumped by 50. It's not going to look good for anybody. But up until today, left center's average in the 80s against Melbourne. I'm not sure what Rocco Berry did today, if he was the left center or the right center. Wasn't watching that game for mental health reasons. But, yeah, that's something to think about. No one else really relevant. Hammer the 124, which saved my draft season, given I drafted him in the second round. Going over to the Panthers, Nathan Cleary, 58 SuperCoach points. That was probably the worst game I've ever seen him play. What do you reckon there?
I mean, what? Like, it was like a National Lampoon's Vacation. What could go wrong did go wrong. It was just, it was.
Mate, that was so out of sync. It wasn't funny. Like, 4 errors for Cleary. He threw the ball out over the sideline at one point.
Like, properly rattled. There was a kick, like, they get the ball on, like, on the Dolphins line, and he kicks on first, like, off a penalty, like, and just absolutely bottles it, like, for Tago, right? Or Tungo. Like, mate, I sit there and I think, look, he's off. The whole the whole joint is off. They've moved to Combank, and it's not going well for them. But the problem is, who's it going right for in the halves? Because it's not going right for Nico. It's not going right for Jerome. Like, it's not going right for Moses or Humphreys. Who do you play? Like,
you just have to pay $700K and just hope they can repeat what they did in the past. Really, I mean, that's fucking it.
That's all you can say about it.
Cleary will drop about 40K, about 640, and
probably the cheapest he's been in years, I'd say.
Yeah, you'd have to bring him in. Who do they play next week? The Riff. Oh, well, us, the Roosters. I'll be at that game on Saturday night. Then then they play Manly. I mean, it's Penrith. Will they turn it around? If they turn it around, he's going to have a pretty big part in it, you'd think. Tommy Jenkins, 47. Pretty sure, once again, Casey McLean butchered him a couple of times. Barbecued him, in fact, with like clear line breaks. I feel if Casey McLean doesn't score this week, then his break even's next week. His break even's gonna be probably in that 30 range. Then they play Manly. You'd probably hold him on to that Manly game for this next 3-week stretch, and then reassess going into Magic Round. But he also didn't look very good. He dropped a couple of bombs. Hugo Savala of the next coming of Cooper Cronk fame is going to pepper him deluxe on Saturday night.
I think it was that, and then it was like those bad kicks, right? He'd make line breaks, then kick it back inside.
Yeah.
Like, just hold the pill, son. Put it under your arm, go to ground, take the 30 meters that you've gained, and like just let the boys get set.
That was, I reckon he probably gets dropped, actually. Like, they always like to throw they won't drop McLean. He's too young. Even though maybe they should. I don't know. In Ivan, they trust, I guess. Before we move on to the next game, Big Daddy. Oh, sound the alarm. One of our favorites over here at the Sunday Night Pod. He jumps into the chat and he jumps off the top rope sock. Big Daddy, my hog is ascending. Oh, we love to hear it. We love to hear it. 12.99. Everyone, all your players are too lazy to make one more tackle, mate. Pappy Skipper. Oh, God. My question for Socko. Is Big Daddy visiting the Ugandan or the Cambodian massage parlor tonight? Grip it and rip it.
Mate, why not both?
I reckon what you do, Big Daddy, not sure where you're located, mate. With chat like that, you're probably in the eastern suburbs because you're a complete gibberer. And you probably don't mind a little march on the powder, if you know what I'm saying. But my answer would be get in the car, pay a couple of tolls. Sefton, heard of it? There's a playhouse there. Have a crack. Great value for money. Great value for money. In fact, if you ever do win the weekly prize at $50, it may go a long way out there. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, grip it and rip it. That may be a Masters reference. Not sure if Big Daddy's a big golf fan. Are you?
Oh, mate, he's obviously he's obviously having a swing, right? You know, going to get he's aiming for a hole in one every time he swings with his hog.
And as we say, any hole's a goal. Bryson DeChambeau, I've had $50 on him at $13 fame. Probably the only punt that looks likely for me in the last month. He's currently, I think, second or third overall, and he'll be teeing off at about 4:30 a.m. our time tomorrow morning. Is that one you stay up for or you wake up for? What do you think?
4:30 a.m. is a wake upper, but you know, unless maybe you think about watching the Bahrain Grand Prix, a bit of Oscar Piastri action on pole. You know, yeah, looking good for the papaya, the Aussie and the papaya. So maybe you go back to back, right?
Yeah, let's find out. Either way, Big Daddy will be he'll be gripping something tonight. I hope.
He might also be at one of those Ugandan or Cambodian places. So, mate, you can tune in live from the table while you're being rubbed and tugged in all different directions.
Just asking for a mate. Where are these Ugandan places that you speak of? I have to go to fucking Uganda, do I? They don't like SuperCoach over there, do they?
You might be able to get away from some of the NRL and SuperCoach-driven media, mate. could be good to have a mid-season week off.
Yeah, maybe if I see Jonathan Thurston over there, I'll go confront him about loyalty and say it's Eatswa. Moving on to the Roosters game. Speaking of Spencer Leniu, the Chooks. Ambush season. Let's go, boys. We win the games we're not expected to win. Well, that's actually been all of them so far this year, but a famous victory at Suncorp, a ground that the Roosters refused to lose at Suncorp. We just refused to lose there. And Friday night was proof of that. Very dour game, I thought, for the most part. At least Supercoach-wise, a lot of stuff through the middle, not much upside, no tons. Highest score was, you guessed it, James Tedesco with 91. He will certainly be on my side for Anzac Day soccer, as I've already mentioned to you half a dozen times. I'll be trading him in whilst we're at the Beresford, I reckon. Actually, no, I'll trade him in before that because I'll probably fucking forget at the Beresford because I'll be pissed as a chook winning 2-up. But he'll definitely be captained over on the walk over to the SFS, and he probably won't leave that slot in my team all year. Teddy just fine wine stuff, isn't it? He's so good, man. He's so active through the middle. He just wants the rock, breaks tackles for fun, and can pass and kick. Well, that left foot kick he put through for Nat Butcher, I think it was, or Crichton, whoever it was. Billy Smith, sorry. That was just beautiful, wasn't it? Tedesco, he's in your plans. You didn't have him last year, did you?
Mate, I wasn't a proud Teddy owner last year, and what a season it was. Now not playing Origin, right? Last year, obviously they've overlooked him. Does Laurie Daly bring him back? Who knows? Dill Edwards didn't look great on Friday night, or Thursday night, I should say. But look, I digress, mate. What a great score from him. Game was really penalties affected as well. Stop-start felt like a bit of a WWE pay-per-view with the amount of bad blood that was going around and the theatrics around the game. Great score from Teddy. You'd take that every day of the week. I mean, he's done a 91 and he's still priced at 840,000, and that feels like that's probably one of his highest scores this season, right? So it just shows you what a good player he is.
Mate, I'll read him out to you. He was 43 when we got pumped, then 119, 58, 83, 101. Only 4 try assists all year, 5 try assists all year for an average well into the 80s. Unlike,
he's not scoring them either. Hey, like it doesn't feel like he's scoring them at will either. So I think there's plenty more to come. There's plenty of upside there around Teddy. You could do worse than have him there. Yeah, you could have played Iongi on the weekend. So
we'll get to you, Iongi. Don't you worry, mate. Mate, couple other chooks we want to talk about here. Billy Smith, 79, scored a double. I believe he's going to be suspended this week. I don't know if you saw that, but
week.
I'll probably actually still bring him in, eh? Oh, maybe not. I mean, my thoughts change fucking by the minute, to be honest. But, man, you know my thoughts about Billy Smith soccer. I've been a Billy Smith apologist since 2019 when 26 games ago for him. He's so tough. He's so tough. One tackle he made to force an error on Walsh, I think it was, tackling him over the sideline. That acrobatic put down gets over the top of Walsh, like Lindsay Collins did against Tesco on Origin, and just truck nut. He got sin-binned as well in that game. But the base power was in the 40s again after doing mid-40s again last week. Yeah, just like Dylan Egan. Very trade-inable and very playable. I'm sure you'll agree there, mate. Connor Watson, couple of try assists, shows his class at hooker with a 78. He's been bloody fantastic for us this year, aside from that game that he got cruelly HI'd in a couple of weeks ago. He's one guy I'm very proud to own for the rest of the year. And then CY Wong, mate. So he's a fella that, I wanked off to during the week. I'll admit it. I'll put my hand up. I saw base power. I saw he was second on the first in base power out of all 2 RFs. In hindsight, probably should realize it was only over like fucking 3 games. So that may have had something to do with the data. I just assumed it was like, over a lifetime. And obviously, we were his number one fans during the week. We all traded him in. He pumped out a 42. I've got a couple of thoughts on him. That game, as you said, was very stop-start. The referee, loved the sound of his own voice. Got a lot of decisions wrong as well, in my humble opinion, on both sides. Siwa Wong just couldn't really find himself into it. 32 tackles. He missed 6. 1 offload, which actually led to another offload, which led to a line break, which shows his class. But only 11 runs. 2 drop balls coming out of his own end and conceded a penalty. So that's 4, 6. That's 12 in negative, and probably missed on 15 minutes worth of ball in play kind of stuff. So I think take all that shit out. That score is probably more around that low 50s, which is completely fine. And he played 80 minutes, which was literally 50% of the worry for trading him in. So obviously you weren't happy with the 42, but you don't feel terrible about Siwa Wong right now?
No, I mean, look, he had a negative break even and he still made cash this week. That's fine. I brought him in to do so. Look, yeah, I mean, you'd ideally hope that improves next week. Do you know what his break even is going to be, Reese?
Yeah, it'll still be like 0, I think. Sorry, I should have pulled it up before you asked.
No, that's
before I
right.
responded. Siwa Wong, his break even next week. It'll be 21. Okay, it's not great. Actually, probably about 15. Sorry, that was before the update. So probably around 15, low teens. But look, as we said, if he's playing 80 minutes, he should be able to shit in 50 anyway. And then a little bit of attack. That goes okay. And he's playing right edge against Panthers. So, yeah, who knows if that's another points fest.
Well, Reese, I think you know better than anyone else, right? Like you've, and I've long shared this view with you. The Chooks don't turn on till Anzac Day. How many times have we seen the Chooks 2-6 going into Anzac Day? Start of the season, Robbo out is all the chatter around town.
You can't coach.
Can't coach, can cook a French meal, but that doesn't translate to NRL success. So, how many times have we seen that? And the Chooks just come out and it's a different ball game after Anzac Day. There's just something that happens. I don't know whether it's whether maybe that day, the reverence, the significance of that day really just kicks the Chooks into gear. But they seem to find one another and they find themselves.
Yeah,
I think look, he's low break even against Panthers, who at the moment objectively have no defense on the edge. I could see him going big this week, but like I'd still even hold into Anzac Day because you could see him going for 100 there. Like it's always a really good game for both sides, SuperCoach points wise, but also it just clicks the Roosters into gear, I find. So happy to ride him for the next two.
Give him to Anzac Day. Great advice for sure. Anything can happen when the last post is played. They'll do it for the Diggers. Emphasis on D in that word as well, obviously. Reece Walsh, 69. Very nice score. Very nice score from Reece Walsh. Thought he's actually looked all right the last couple of weeks. It was weird, like going into that game, really excited about owning Siwa Wong, really excited about Rob Truth Toya, which was soon deflated given he's just really not getting any attack at the moment. So I was really excited about those two guys. Then I was like really deflated because I was like, fuck, that's right. I also own Reece Walsh. I'm going to have to watch him go around again tonight. But man, I thought he looked good. Like, forced dropout, nice try assist, followed up through the middle. Kind of everything you want out of him, only one error, which is good. He was making 4 or 5 the weeks before. Who are the Broncos play next week? No, look, it doesn't matter. I'm going to have to hold him. Oh, they play the Warriors. So Pappy did pretty well against them today. So
Sean's failed his HIA as well. A couple of issues for the Wild. So I think he'll do all right next week.
Yeah, also a revenge game for Reece Walsh. If you remember, he actually debuted for the Warriors. So that'll be it. And then Payne asked at 83. What did you expect, guys? Trapasaki, 52. Probably looks like he's going to be able to be moved on this week. Arthur's of the 44. Cat 1, though, so you can hold on to him. Trapasaki, thank you for your services. You can go, mate. Don't know. I'll take. Look, I caught you on the back end, Trapasaki, and it's been wild, mate. It's been wild. You give me about 80K, fucking worth a trade in, obviously. But for you, Socko, he's made you close to 300. Well done, brother.
Yeah, look, Shibasaki's a weird way to spell Val Holmes, but that's what I'm reading here on the page in front of me. So, look, he'd probably get one more price rise out of him next week with him doing a 52. I think he had a negative break even. But look, he's probably going to be 20s or 30s for break even, I'd imagine. Time for him to go, and then as you've kind of touched on that, Jesse Arthur. He's done 44. Him and Billy Smith both out for a week. Look into it. I think that's a perfect first trade for the following week.
Yeah, well said, mate. That's an easy one to sit on, isn't it? And Trapasaki will actually be 77, so probably not one to hold on to break even wise. Yeah, okay. Nafahu White also barely met his break even, so that's a weird way to spell Dylan Egan, isn't it?
Eagle.
Mate, just whizzing through a couple of these other final games here. The Manly game over in Perth. Again, very low scoring. I thought both sides in that first half looked like, I don't know, dude. They looked so timid and
nervous. Nervous is the way.
Yeah, it was weird. It was like they'd just flown across the country to play in a stadium which was a third full. Where the Premier wasn't even watching the fucking sport. He was too busy knob hopping with fucking Pilbara Minerals staff and at the Reinhardt buffet over there. You know what I mean?
Shout out to Fox for the coverage. Every time they cut to him, we got the back of his head. Couldn't tell you what this Cook fella looks like in the face because, mate, he wasn't watching the game.
Yeah, he was like, and then so it was like, so how'd you enjoy up the stadium day? He's like, yeah, no, the Fremantle Dockers played pretty well, didn't they? It was only 24-18, pretty low scoring game. A few behinds from both sides, but enjoyed the box with the Reinhardt family.
And what about that inside 50?
Yeah, he's like, ball. Mate, Sammy Stone Street, Phil Street, double, 80. You were right. You were right, in effect. But that's kicking the teeth. Yeah, fucking no one really did well in this game. Ruben Garrick, 77. It's Ruben Garrick, isn't it? I like it when he goes from dummy half. He's starting to get a bit more aggressive. Like I thought, obviously last year, like after the concussions, he was a little bit timid, understandably. But I think this year it's now been like one try and a couple of try assists out of dummy half, where he kind of just says, "Give me the ball." Lovely. I think it was a disallowed try to Clayton Falalo out there as well.
That was.
Which, by the way, what do you reckon about this rule change? I'll throw it for you. If a bloke grounds the ball dead in goal, but like 2/3 of the ball's in the in goal, it should just be a try. You know what I mean? Like, why do they fucking disallow that shit?
Yeah, look, I don't necessarily like the simultaneous grounding rules that we've currently got. And not just because I'm a proud Ruben Garrick owner. Let me be honest. Look, I don't like it. We've seen it actually a few weeks in a row where there's been sort of tries where 9/10 of the ball happens to be in the end goal and some random piece of chalk touches the speed and then it gets pulled up. So I think under the let the boys play rules, 2/3 of the ball it should be in. Mate, I think Ruben Garrick was close to our first pick this year, right? Like you and I are very big on Rubes. Like he's
so unders. Yeah, no, he'll stay there all year. Easy build the team around him. Yeah, people continue to trade him out though. Like he was traded out by 2,000 teams this week. I don't really get that. Anyway, but no one else from Manly really did anything. Terry Evans, Adam Fanua-Blake, 46. He went off with an injury, I reckon, at one point.
Groin.
Yeah. His break-even was 56. So, Jugas, our friend Jugas, was thinking about bringing AFB in next week, but it looks like he may be out for a bit. Jugas might have looked under the hood of Joey Taps, who we'll get into in a sec. But yeah, Nico 38. I reckon that updates. You heard it here first, guys.
You're hoping it updates.
That's about it. Yeah. Nico with a 40. Not good. He hasn't been very good this year in SuperCoach. Cowboys, Jackson Purdue, aka the one that got away, the one that you traded away, I believe, and the one I never actually had. 111. How tough is this to watch? Is it? I mean, look, I never owned him, so I'm kind of I'm an idiot anyway for never having him. But how do you feel week after week as he just continues to rise to 600K, Socko?
Hey, you and I saw him early in the trials, right? We really like the cut of this kid. He looks really good. I, in fact, have burned a trade on, getting him out. I've seen him go for, I think, 30 and 20 in these first 2 weeks, and I've had enough. Look, to be fair, I've caught the Shibasaki elevator, which has kind of just been sitting opposite Purdue. Purdue obviously at a delay, mate. What a miss! He's looking better and better every week, and he really looks to be that point of attack for the Cows. It's just all coming down that channel. Yeah, legit option. It's so good.
And then he gets tries, and the ball falls into his lap. Cam Wynn, absolutely up and about. Cam Wynn's weekend just goes from better to better after that ton. Reece Robson, future Rooster. He was, I don't know, who told him to run, but I reckon he would have ran for about 120 meters in that game. He was going hard through the guts, wasn't he? That looked great, but he's not heaps SuperCoach relevant. And then Scotty Phil Water with an honest 72. No one else there from the Cows that are relevant by the looks there, Sock. Moving over to Souths. Trell with a 67, a double try assist, and I think he got about 10 points elsewhere outside of that. His value is certainly not at 5'8", is it?
No. Nope. I think it kind of rattled Trell. It looked like he was rattled. Just having the defense that bit closer in rather than catching it on a sweep was forcing him to throw passes that went wayward. Look, I'll tell you what, if you had a half that was, their floor was 67, right, which is kind of what it felt like Trell was playing at, you definitely take that, especially in the current market. But not his position at all. Took time and space away from him. The defense actually seemed to have him more easily covered up. I felt it felt like when he was even running the pill, it just wasn't as effective. To those of you that have him, I don't think you'd burn the trade, but geez,
mate, his break even's 150 going into next week.
Oh, so okay, maybe you do. Maybe you do burn the trade. Yeah,
well, yeah. If you got him, you hold him, but hopefully he gets another month in the halves for all of us. Lucky Hubner with a 49, he'll have a 0 break even. He goes up by 60K. That means he's still got another couple of weeks in him, doesn't he? And then Pistol Pete Mamazelis, 46 and 80 minutes, a guy that I was going to trade him to Harry Grant this week, so that obviously worked out well for me. He's not doing terribly, but he's going to start going backwards pretty soon. Mamazelos next week, 59 break even. That's great. Good to see. Probably won't have the ability to move him on. Whizzing through these last couple of games, mate, Joey Tapine, he scored a try, assisted one, but 4 tackle breaks, 1 offload, 18
he
runs.
went close on a second as well, mate. Like I remember him going desperately close for a second too.
He's that good, Sock. He'll be about 750 now. Won't play Origin. You know, we spoke about Couchman et al. Would you go a Tapine over Fafita, or have I lost the plot?
Look, if you've already got, say, Terrell May, Payne Haas, and Corey Horsburgh or Tino sitting there in the front row, it rounds it out quite nicely, doesn't it? Do the Raiders play round 12 out of curiosity?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. Then he's probably a must-have at that point.
Wow. Yeah, like fuck all ownership as well. Hudson Young with a double, 103, continues to... Well, I don't know if he's going to play Origin, but, I mean, he's Origin... That's saying it's Crichton's edge, to be fair. He's not going to beat Crichton out, but fuck, he's a pretty handy little backup.
I like him on the bench, though, don't they? Like the New South Wales Origin team, like you can see Daly picking him as a interchange, bit of aggression off the bench.
Who knows what he's going to do? He'll probably fucking pick Katonga or something, Laurie Daly. Yeah, Hutto 103. Keats of thanks for coming, Cam Wynn, done him again. Keats is copping L's after L. Keats actually brought Hudson Young in this week, and he did really well for him. So shout out to you, Keaton. But you'll take the L once again, and you'll like it, buddy.
I think it's all right. Keats is a friend here of the channel, and mate,
friend of the show.
I think friend of the show. Mate, I think he's done all right on the punt this weekend. If the group chat is anything to go by, so Keats, mate, that keeps warm.
He's got a good weekend of the punt in him, doesn't he?
He does. He can give me some tips there too, be it SuperCoach or punt wise, really.
Tommy Starling, 76, says, fuck you to anyone who traded him out, which was about 7,000 teams. I think, Socko, that was also you included.
A week earlier.
Yeah. We didn't miss much. Nicholson, I think, scored a try in the 78th minute just to, again, kick anyone who didn't bring him in right in the ribs. And then Corey Horsburgh with pretty much 70. That's fantastic from him. I was going to trade him out because I've got no idea, but I have to hold him again.
Mate, can we touch on one that I played, and I'm not sure if you played him too? Hot Tamale.
Yeah, what happened? Everyone else scored but him.
Yeah. Thanks for that head-to-head matchup, Purdue versus Tamale. Shout out to you.
Yeah.
T-Red in the Gibberers 150 watch. Going for 26. The pill did not go past the notorious ball hog Seb Chris.
We were right, though. We were right. We're like, okay, Canberra going to pump him. Surely Tamale gets over, and everyone around him got over, but...
Yeah. Go on, baby Mac. Like when does he become a sell for you if you're holding him? Like -10 break even going into the weekend. I'm not sure if you've got his break even there. Like when is Tamale off the merry-go-round?
Mate, Tamale has a 52 break even. Fuck me swinging. Go up by 30K. I wonder if he's going to actually get updated. I think it was like a line break that he made towards the end, potentially even like a try assist. I could be wrong. I saw someone post it.
It would be nice if he did.
Yeah. So basically what we're saying, guys, is Tamale and Nico are both going to go up by 50. But yeah, and then from Para, the top scorer was a rookie back row. I got 53. Dill Brown, I've already kind of spoken about, 44 with a try, and Hopgood 42. Yongi 32. Brother, mate. Voldy, why did I get you tatted, mate? I thought it was, I thought it was gonna be a forever thing. I said I'll never trade you out, but I might have to go back on my word and get ready to learn Tedesco, buddy.
What does his break even become out of curiosity?
Who, buddy Voldemort? -3. So you'll go up by 43K with a -3 break even. That's good. He's got one more week. in my team at least. And then Hopgood with a 42, playing at hooker again. So hey, if you're still holding on to Hopgood, just stay solid. He'll get a duel in about 6 weeks. Sock, moving these last couple of games, mate, and then we'll wrap up for the night. A game that I've already mentioned, due to mental health reasons, did not tune in to was Melbourne and the Waz. What happened down in Melbourne today, please?
Mate, Melbourne first half at home. Let me tell you, you don't want to be playing them at Amy Stadium this year. Was like, look, there was this moment early in the first half, right? It was just a really glitchy game. I think the ball spewed up off a point and went straight backwards from Munster off the kickoff, and then like the Waz had a penalty in front of the post, like directly in front of, didn't take the two, and then it was just go time for Melbourne from there. Like they just switched on. Everyone in commentary, those watching at home, were like, that was a bit of a miss not taking the two there. It just went bad to worse. I think I've seen one of the rarest players I've ever seen today, which might have been someone going for an intercept from the Warriors. I can't remember who it was. It was out on their right edge. Has gone for an intercept. He's tapped the ball midair, right? Yeah. And it's flowing back towards their try line and into Howarth or Coates' arm and gone straight over. Like, just unreal. Like, they've run 20 meters back the other way. Like, it was just, like, everything that could go wrong went wrong for the Waz today.
A comedy of errors.
JFH, early pec injury. He's gone for 12 points. So apologies.
Is that Dimitric's music? Is that Dimitric's music, baby? Now that we have one go down, I mean, Varmago pumped out 40 today, honest 40 points.
Can I give you something with that 40? Right, like you're sitting there thinking it's looking good, right?
Yeah, no,
it did look good. It did look good. He's come on for a second cameo with about 10 minutes to go. They've thrown a crash ball to him for his only involvement in his second cameo, right?
Yeah.
He's spilt it over the line, right?
No.
HIA straight back off. So it was actually up around 45, and that was the end of that chapter. So mate, yeah.
No way, mate. That's a big swing. That's a big swing.
It's a big swing. It was one of the most heartbreaking things to watch. No, look, he looked really good. Halasima again, aerial threat, like remains a buy. Like if you wanted to go that way, they had him playing at centre today. I mean, mate, the Waz looked good in the second half. They looked a lot better than they did in the first half. In fact, they won the second half. Melbourne 36 by halftime, 6 points in the second, a rogue Xavier Coates try. Look, Melbourne look lost without Jerome Hughes. I think that's a big takeaway from that game. Like the moment he went off, they stopped trying. I mean, look, it could have been they were 36 points up, right? And it's hard to
Q in the round.
Yeah.
When did Hughes get injured, please? What minute?
It was about the 20th or 30th minute. Like it was somewhere in that mark. He played on, he played on through the second half, but he was in a fair amount of pain. Just looked like he came down on the joint, like it wasn't, or like the point of his shoulder, like it wasn't anything too serious, like wasn't dislocated or anything. At least initial looks, but he was in a fair amount of pain. I'd be shocked if he plays next week. I think the relevant scores, like look, obviously Xavier Coates there with a 141 would be nice, but has a terrible floor, SuperCoach wise, so not relevant. We've already touched on Captain Housen. If you captained him this week, you're a genius. If you owned him this week, you're a genius. And to everyone else, bad luck in your head-to-heads. He was unreal. Like if he kept that goal kicking, you'd actually love to see Pappenhausen keep the goal kicking when Meany comes back. Like if he did that, he could be a season-long hold. Like won't play Origin. Unreal. Just such a good player. Funnily enough, like Munster was I suppose the spine player to have a pretty quiet game today. Melbourne, 51, wasn't overly involved. Most of Melbourne's tries were kind of coming through the forward or like heaps long shifts. Like he would have gotten a few try contributions there for sure, but no real try assist to speak of off Honey Money today. So
that can happen with Melbourne, can't it? Like if Grant goes well, Pappy goes well, one of them can just kind of go pretty mid. And we saw that today with Munster, but it was the opposite in round one with Grant doing a 30-odd. It's just take your pick. You probably just hedge by having all of them, right?
Yeah, is that a successful winning Supercoach strategy? the 4 Melbourne spine players. Katoa had a pretty quiet game by all accounts. They really didn't shift out to his right edge too much. It was all just points fest down the left.
6 offloads for Katoa. So only 17 tackles, 1 tackle break, 6 offloads, and 20 runs. So but no major attacking stats, which is the first time this year he hasn't had an attacking stat, right? He's had tries or try assists every week thus far.
Correct.
And was Pappenhausen as good as what the score suggests?
Yeah, like he was just in everything. Like I suppose he was that one throwing the last pass. Like he was the one supporting on all the breaks. He was just there. He was everywhere that he could be today. It sort of seemed to just be one of those games, kind of like a Guffo game where the points are just flowing through the fullback. So it was a great watch if you're an owner. As a puppy truther and fan, just anyway. Lovely to see him getting back around on the football pitch. I think you'll recall a couple of years ago where he was doing these kinds of scores every week, and what a time to own him that was. But
it's almost like we were on this pod 3 weeks ago, and I said, "Hey guys, Pappenhausen averages 92 when he's kicking goals. We should all get him in," and then none of us did.
Right, well, mistakes. I've had a few this Supercoach season. That's why I'm a head player now. That's why I'm dressed in black for my funeral.
And Boxzilla asked, what is this, a Blues Brothers potty today? No, mate. It's we're paying our respects to the death of our seasons, respectively. But hey, as they say, Socko, light often comes after darkness, and the light in our life now is head-to-head competitions, and you're excited for it.
Mate, I am. Harry Grant looks to have bottomed out finally today. Finally managed to, I think, actually get credited a try assist with a crash ball to Josh King, and then managed to support through. Got a kick from Xavier Coates coming down the sideline and jumped on that. So, look, I think we've seen him bottom out. Had a 63 break even going into today, scored 83. Origin obviously around the corner. Is he still that buy for you from Mamo? Like, is that still the trade for you this week? And will you pull the trigger on that? Or are we just giving people advice that we won't take?
Yeah, don't fuck it. Don't ask me, mate. Mate, you can't even 38k overall. Good to see Grant realise his upside again today. But yeah, I gotta do something different. I gotta find money to bring in Carraz or Farnsworth, these kind of operators for feeder. Hooker will be one of the last positions I target if I'm even still around for that, obviously. Grant Anderson, 72. Another guy I came close to trading in. That's good to see him do well. He is in my draft side, so sucked into whoever played me in draft this week. So that was good. Aaron Clark, he continues to go pretty well, mate. Ever since Dylan Edwards left the joint. He pumped out 65 in 50 minutes last week, all in base. And this week, 64, again, probably in just as many minutes, I dare say. 452K. I mean, I'm not interested, but it's just something to note.
I mean, his minutes are going to go up, right? Like with that injury to JFH, I kind of feel that he'll probably get some more minutes there. There is some upside. If you're in the position where you can worry about fucking around with Aaron Clark, you're doing very well at this point, or you're coming in the bottom, the bottom 150s.
Speaking of fucking around with people named Aaron, Big Daddy chimes in again, and Big Daddy from the top rope, pick me like a nose. So I believe he, she, they, or them, whatever the hell Big Daddy is. I'm guessing it's a bloke. Before we were talking about how he's a whatever. The only time I go west of George Street is the casino. Well, that makes 3 of us, mate. Sefton? ? Haven't heard of that disease. My poison is a crisp glass of Chenin Blanc. I believe it means Sauvignon Blanc at North Bondi Fish. I like Big Daddy. Big Daddy, he is picking up. I'm picking up what you're putting down, baby. I think we are much more similar than I'm willing to admit. I mean, your hog is probably a lot truer than mine, especially after a $12.99, mate. But so you know how much I love a North Bondi fish. I'm a big fan of that racket they have down there. No real place like it in Sydney where you can rock up. I could probably rock up like this and no one to bat an eyelid, but then you can also rock up without your shoes on, as I've done many times, and sit there on the balcony with your hinge date and deep throat margaritas until the wind starts blowing too much and you have to go inside, and then you come back and you got hypothermia. Or is it something else? I don't know. I haven't been to Sefton. But hey, any words of advice regarding Big Daddy leaving the bubble?
Mate, Big Daddy, look, I think, mate, it's time to broaden your horizons, mate. Sefton, you're definitely going to catch a disease, but you might also catch some feels. So check it out, mate.
You catch something.
She got a fat ass, and she's willing to talk to you for 50.
All you have to do is just fucking top the chat for a week, mate. Good stuff. Good stuff. North Bondi fish, probably somewhere. Anyway, I'll leave that one alone, actually. Rockzilla, he says, is Fifi a play for you this week if he's named to start? Or do you prefer other targets? Well, Socko's already waxed lyrical about him. I dare say Socko will trade him in and we'll probably play him, and you might even have a bit of a look at an armband on him in some description area, mate.
Going begging for a VC on him.
I can't hear.
I said Fifi's begging for a VC on him.
Can you give me a Fifi, do you love me in key as well?
Fifi, do you love me? Are you riding? Because I know I am.
Because I want you.
And I need you.
I know. Down for your ways. Good stuff. So Melbourne did pretty well today. They seem to not really want to ever, put 80 on the board, do they? I was actually out west today, which will shock Big Daddy. I didn't pack my bulletproof vest.
You were taking the personal helicopter, weren't you?
Yeah. Better call Saul a helicopter. I was actually out west today, and during that Melbourne game, was sitting in a nice Vietnamese restaurant in Bankstown of all places. Again, no bulletproof vest, so wanted to get out of there ASAP, Rocky. And every time I looked at my phone, Melbourne had scored another try. So I was like, all right, mate, just put this on airplane mode here for a second. Anyway, what a good story by Reese. And then the final game is the West Tigers.
Just quickly, Reese, one score I do want to touch on. Shout out to Metcalf for an absolute junk time 59 there. 79th minute try. So if you owned him and you've enjoyed the Luke Metcalf ownership experience, well done. You reap the diamonds today.
Imagine if you played just imagine a world where you played Metcalf today, right? And the Wires dish up that shit, but like you're so loyal to Metcalf that you sit through the entire game and he rewards you right at the end. 67. He's outscored Siwa Wong Deluxe. And he's probably somehow made his break even there. Lou Matt,
he's
the
forgotten
man.
Nico.
Yeah, he's done. Yeah, he's combined. Big Daddy. Reese looks like the sex offender / woke hybrid version of Bruno Mars. Well, I'll never be hopefully I'll never be the sex offender version, and I'll certainly never be the woke hybrid version, because as we know, if you go woke, you go broke. It's as simple as that. None of this solar panel shit. I'm going to vote for bloody Clive Palmer because he's got Trump in his party's name, and I like Trump because he puts tariffs on the Chinese. No thoughts there, Soccer. I don't blame you. Mate, the final game is the Newcastle versus Western Suburbs Magpies, West Tigers. I own, only one Tiger now, but I don't think I can watch them anymore, man. I don't think I can watch the West Tigers ever again, actually. Not until at least Mr. Why did we let him go once he retires, man? I can't believe it. Why the fuck do we let this cunt go? Like, he's unbelievable. I mean, he played 70 minutes today. Probably could have paid 170. 34 tackles, 6 tackle breaks, 5 offloads, 20 runs. Didn't miss a tackle, didn't make an error, didn't concede a penalty. You'll take your Blake Steep and you'll like it.
What a performance from Team A. Big friend of the channel. Hard to watch for some, myself included, because Saints all off season chasing a big front rower. West get Team A, we get David Clemmer. Doesn't seem fair. Turns out life's not
close. Oh mate, Team A, like they'll update to 90 odd. You know what? We don't even talk about him. Like, what do you have to need?
You don't own him at this point. You don't get SuperCoach. Look, this is not our funeral. It's also yours. All right. If you don't own Team A at this point, you're in the funeral with us.
Boxzilla chimes in. He says, "Bow down to my Pappy C this week." What do you want, mate? You want us to suck you off, fucking through the camera? Fair dinkum. Already give Cam. Cameron's already owed 5 minutes of fame, mate. You can go back in your Boxzilla.
Maybe you and Big Daddy can work out some arrangement about your hogs and your 1,300 plus scores.
Mate, final thing, I guess, to touch on tonight is Tom Cant did pretty well. Marju probably is going to get dropped, I reckon. Same as Jenkins, and that'll be a great problem on Tuesday to have. But Kalen Ponga, neither of us own him. He did 21 today. His break-even was 150. So that means he'll drop about 100K. Yeah, 114K with 145 break-even. It's a lot of numbers. And he does not look like he's wanting to get involved at the moment. What's going on? Tell us what's going on with Kalen Ponga in 50 words or less.
Not a lot. Gone missing. Send help. Yeah, look, mate, you and I, we've hated Newcastle for a while. We mused about this in the green room. I think we even touched on it earlier. Such a negative football side. I just hate watching them play. Don't contest kicks. It's just everything's wrong with it. You've got Phoenix Crossland as your half. That's also an issue. Bloke doesn't even deserve a first grade jersey. Shout out to the Knights fans who are going to savage me. After this, that's fine. He's useless. If you don't sell him this week, maybe you don't like winning in SuperCoach. I don't know. Maybe you should look into your punishment king. It's I wouldn't touch Newcastle players at the moment, apart from maybe Tom Cant. But even then, he's done what he's done. He's projected today. Okay, you'll take that. You move on. You'll take the 100K and move on.
Yeah, mate. If you're asking me for answers to Kalen Ponga, I got no idea. I remember that Titans game.
Your investment. Yeah.
He looked.
Your investment.
Yeah, he looked off. Played best player in rugby league against the Dolphins in round 2 from memory. He was everywhere. And I don't know. I just don't know if he wants to have a crack or he's just pissed off with AOB or something. But AOB is on the way out. Just as we are on the way out for this podcast, before I ask you, Sock, who are you trading out and who are you trading in?
Yep.
And go from there.
Mate, so Shibasaki out. As I said, his name looks a hell of a lot like Val Holmes. I'll sit on Tui Pilotu whether he plays or not this week. I've read low-grade strain, so that's fine. Shibasaki gone. Alex Seyfarth, nice to know ya. He's started going backwards, so if you have not already sold, he's going to go backwards probably a little bit this week. It is time to sell. He looks a hell of a lot like Dylan Egan. I believe there's going to be a boost in there somewhere. And look, it's probably, I think it's potentially for me. I've got Mamo and Sandon Smith. I actually think it might be the time to get Harry Grant. Otherwise, probably Tamale. Tamale is the other player, actually, now that I think about it, that's got to go. So, yeah.
Bloody hell.
Forget
how many trades are you going to make?
Forget Hooker. Tamale is gone. I don't know where I'll look with that. But, yeah, Shibasaki, Tamale, and Seyfarth are all leaving my island. What about you,
Yeah.
Reece?
Shibasaki, thanks for nothing, really. I mean, I got you on the tail end. Wasn't as good as the front end, that's for sure. You can pack your bags, mate. Thanks for the trap. Then I'll also be getting rid of Nafahu White, who has peaked deluxe. Watch him score a double next week, obviously. And yeah, I was thinking getting rid of Horse, but probably can't do that. Yeah, I don't know. I've got a lot of thinking to do. But listen, as I said, this is now a head-to-head strategy. You know, how do we win our head-to-head comps? Because we sure as hell ain't going anywhere near tickling the balls of even the top 1,000. Let's keep it tell it how it is. And we're dressed in black for a reason. I've got my hat on for a reason. It's not even sunny in here. My future isn't that bright, but have the sunnies on because you never know. Right? You never know what happened with the merger on May 1. Look into it. Something to think about. Equity. Yeah, so those will be the two guys that go out. Want a bit of Karaz, no doubt. And then I could probably, obviously Egan as well. Fafita, Farnsworth, sorry. You name it, baby. We got it. Socko, before we leave, any life advice that you just want to give to me or anyone who's listening?
And look, smile because, I honestly, SuperCoach not worth smiling, so you got to find something to be happy about, and that's the secret to life, right? Is you just find something that makes you happy and you keep on smiling. Things will get better. There are better days ahead. There were better days beforehand. So wherever you are right now, friends of the stream, things will get better unless you're looking at SuperCoach like us, in which case, log off till Wednesday. Take a walk. Do some breath work. Ask Ben Watson for some breathing advice because look, just like me and Reece, you'll need
it. Ben Watson, friend of the show.
Ben Watson, friend of the show.
Socko,
Reece, what have you got for the people out there?
My advice is really, really simple. Okay, and you can get a pen if you want. Viewers, you get a pen if you want. If you ever go to Sefton, huh?
Keep fucking punting. Chase the losses.
Fucking punt. My life advice is really simple, okay? If you ever go to Sefton, fine. Just make sure you know a doctor.